The NFL draft is about 48 hours away, so today we're going to go through each team and make our predictions for how the entire first round is going to play out. First things first, we got to select all the teams. I'm the GM, I run this shit. And starting out, we got the Chicago Bears, who have two top 10 picks, one at number 1, one at number 9. They're really trying to revamp their entire team to be competitors for the first time in, well, forever. But this is a slam dunk of as number 1 overall as it can possibly be in recent memory. You'll see some other platforms, like I think Bleacher Report tried getting really cute predicting Drake May going number 1 overall. But no, ever since they traded Justin Fields, it's always been Caleb Williams, the quarterback of USC, going to the Bears. They're hoping they finally have a franchise quarterback in Chicago for the first time in, well, once again, forever. Even with him, the Bears still suck though. Number 2, we got the Commanders. We're probably going to see a run of quarterbacks just go right away. You got a lot of quarterback heavy teams in the top 3 specifically, then maybe some teams that could possibly trade up. Commanders, everybody knows they're going to go quarterback. It would be a surprise if they didn't, similar to if Chicago took anybody but Caleb Williams. So your choices are Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy, I think, is heavily overrated. I think he's not going to fit how high he's going to go in the draft. Drake May has some question marks around him in terms of his athletic ability. And I think the second best quarterback in this draft is last year's Heisman winner, Jaden Daniels, the quarterback of LSU. They've drafted quarterbacks in the past with like a similar skill set in RG3 a long time ago, and he seems to fit the mold that a lot of teams are starting to go with those young athletic quarterbacks who can scramble a little bit, but also have good pocket presence and can throw on the run. Jaden Daniels has all those intangibles. There are rumors he doesn't want to play for Washington, but there were also rumors that Caleb Williams didn't want to play for Chicago. It's all smokescreen, and there's no way this kid's going to give up being the number 2 overall pick, risk falling down in the draft, and losing out on millions of dollars. If a player ever says he doesn't want to play there, 99% of the time, it's not true. Then we got the Patriots, who finally are moving on from Mac Jones. Mac Jones was god-awful. They're also going to probably go quarterback here, as their new coach, Jared Mayo, kind of hinted at. So at the top, you got Drake May and J.J. McCarthy. I've seen a lot of people predict J.J. McCarthy. Number 3 overall pick, I think you're going to want somebody that can come in, learn the system, and obviously has a ton of upside. I believe the better prospect between those two is definitely going to be Drake May. Like I said, not nearly as high on J.J. McCarthy. This is where the NFL draft could be interesting, is with the Arizona Cardinals at number 4. You have teams rumored to be in on that pick, and they're rumored that if they get a good offer, they'll trade back. The Minnesota Vikings have 2 first-round picks in this year's draft, and number 11, number 23. They could then trade up and get their franchise quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. Sounds like a Vikings move. He's kind of ass. So if you're the Cardinals, if you realistically get that offer, you desperately need a wide receiver, and you got the best player in the draft right there, who happens to be a wide receiver. But is it worth missing out on that wide receiver, getting an extra first-round pick, only moving back 7 spots? We'll still get a good player and some other draft picks. In this mock draft, I'm not going to do like any trades, but I do realistically think the Cardinals hold on to this pick. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. being there at number 4 is way too enticing to pass up no matter what kind of offer you get. I mean, yeah, 2 first-round picks is nice, but Marvin Harrison's probably the best wide receiver we've had coming out of college since Calvin Johnson way back when. Dude's going to be a stud. Give Kyler Murray a weapon. Hollywood Browns in Kansas City. They need a guy like that. Number 5, we got the Chargers, who really need some offensive weapons. They could use some lineman help. They also really need a wide receiver, like really bad. They need a wideout in the worst way. They traded their best one, Keenan Allen. Mike Williams got released. Their number 1's Quentin Johnson going into this year. They got some other guys, but you got Malik Neighbors, who's coming off a stud season here at number 5. He could be a steal here. For just how good he is, you pair him and Justin Herbert, that might be a top 1-2 punch in the NFL for years to come. We have the Giants here at number 6. The last time the Giants selected at number 6, I believe, is the year they took Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has a massive contract, but I don't believe he's going to be the long-term answer, especially if he continues not to stay healthy and continues to struggle. Tommy DeVito's a cool story, but he is also not the answer there. The Giants could go so many ways because they are depleted on that roster. They may be in contention for the number 1 overall pick next year. Back quarterback, their best player, Saquon, left to their division rival. No O-linemen, no wide receivers. The offensive whole is just insane. So I'm going with a surprise pick here that I don't see a lot in mock drafts, and going with J.J. McCarthy. trying to get their franchise quarterback that they don't need to start right away. They can start Daniel Jones for 1-2 years, kind of build some weapons around McCarthy. So when he comes in, he kind of has the Jordan Love treatment. He has that experience, kind of learning the system and the coaching staff. If they kind of stick with what they currently have, they can build a young nucleus and a young core around him. So he's not coming in throwing to different guys year in and year out, which is probably what would happen if he started right away with this current team. It's worked for guys like Jordan Love. Obviously, Mahomes sat out for a year. Maybe if McCarthy, who has a high quarterback football IQ, maybe learning the system for a year or two behind Daniel Jones, kind of filling out the roster and some other holes. But I have New York Giants going with their franchise quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. You have the Titans at number 7. The Titans have their franchise quarterback in Will Levis. They also have DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley. So some big-time offensive weapons. I think they signed Tony Pollard too. So decently, their offense is starting to look kind of nice. You have to protect your franchise quarterback. And in my opinion, the best tackle in this draft is going to be the one from Penn State, whose name I cannot pronounce. Fashanu? Fashanu. Dude, I'm not even trying to butcher that. I just fucked that up so bad. But I think he's the best tackle in the draft. I'll have him kind of protecting Will Levis's blind side. The Falcons could be a sneaky good team next year. Quarterback play's really been what's kind of held them back. They have the young offensive weapons between Bijan, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, some of those other guys. Right now, I feel like they go the defensive route, and they're going to take the best one in Dallas Turner, kind of help out on the edges a little bit. Bears back up at number 9. They took their franchise quarterback at 1. Number 9, I think they're either going to go O-line or receiver. They got Keenan Allen. They got DJ Moore. Keenan Allen only has 1 year left on his contract, and he's very old. It'll be amazing for this year, but he also does have somewhat of an injury history, and we probably won't see him next year. So Joe Alt's still available, but you also got Romy. Is it Romy? It's Rome Adunuze. Don't judge me, dude. I suck with names. Wide receiver out of Washington. He's a great route runner. And for the long term, you give Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, in Rome, that's a pretty damn good young 1-2 punch and actually makes them scary for the division, which kind of sucks. But the Bears will still always suck in my book. Now we have the New York Jets, who were a big disappointment last year after they traded for Aaron Rodgers. Everybody penciled him in as a Super Bowl contender. Then he got hurt 2 minutes into week 1. Season didn't exactly plan out how they hoped, but he's going to be back and healthy this year. They've worked on revamping their old line a little bit so he doesn't get killed. I mean, poor Zach Wilson had no chance out there. So I don't think they need to go with an offensive weapon here, and instead, they're going to go with one of the best offensive players in this draft, and that's Brock Bowers. They don't really have a tight end on that roster, and all of a sudden you got Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and Brock Bowers, all 24 and younger on that offense. Like, yeah, I know that Aaron Rodgers isn't young, but any future quarterback that they kind of bring in the near future is going to have a load of very talented weapons. Here's the Vikings pick at number 11. We talked a little bit about them maybe packaging their 2 first-round picks, kind of moving up to the Cardinals draft quarterback. Unfortunately, the run of quarterbacks is over, and unless you want to draft Michael Penix Jr. this high, man, that would be a reach. But the quarterbacks, we're going to see a run within the top 5. You got like 3-4 quarterbacks that could go in the top 5. Then you got Michael Penix, Bo Nix, who are probably end of round 1, early second round guys, and then just a deep fall off after that. So if I'm the Vikings, I probably hold right here. And instead, I take what a lot of people rate as the number 1 cornerback in this draft, and that's Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. He's got the size, the athleticism, and the physicality to be a number 1 in the league. Vikings have a very young secondary, and it hasn't exactly worked out for them so far. So with one of their first round picks, they're going to probably look to adding into that secondary a little bit more. Now we got the Broncos at number 12. Broncos could use a lot of things on offense. They don't really have a quarterback unless you consider the trade for Zach Wilson their saving grace. I mean, they just traded Russell Wilson. They traded Jerry Jeudy. They don't have a lot going for them this year. They could also be a team in contention for that number 1 overall pick in 2025. So for this instance, I think they beef up the defense a little bit and maybe look at quarterback in next year's draft. They're not expecting to compete this year. None of the other quarterbacks they really consider a franchise caliber QB. So I'm going Jared first, an edge rusher out of Florida State. Help put pressure on QBs, make their life a little bit more difficult. Raiders at number 13 have been disappointment for a couple of years. They lost their running back in Josh Jacobs, going to the green and gold, going to the good guys. Did sign Christian Wilkins though, beefing up that defensive tackle spot. They could use a cornerback, so I'm going with arguably number 1, number 2 cornerback in this draft, Terrion Arnold, cornerback out of Alabama. And if I'm the Saints at number 14 and somehow magically Joe Alt falls to them, who in this simulation is the number 5th ranked player, falls all the way to the number 14. First off, if you're the Raiders at 13 and he falls to the side, you're probably getting a million phone calls of teams trying to trade up to get Joe Alt at 13. But the Saints snagging him at 14 would probably be a dream come true if you're a Saints fan. They need offensive tackle help in the worst way. Starting here, we could see a bigger run of offensive lineman help. We just saw Joe Alt go off the board. That run could continue here, but I think the Colts right now are going to go with an edge guy, and I have them going for, once again, another guy's name I cannot say, Latu. Sounds Hawaiian, but I have no idea. An edge rusher out of UCLA. They're also rumored in to be trying to trade up for somebody like Brock Bowers in the draft. I think in order to do that, you'd probably have to make a trade with the Bears at number 9. I think there's no way Brock Bowers gets past number 10. Coming up at our draft's halfway point, we got the Seattle Seahawks at number 16, who they have a decent looking squad. Not a ton of needs right now, but I think they go with a lot of people argue could potentially be the best defensive player in the draft, and that's going to be Byron Murphy out of Texas. You see right now, defensive tackles are getting paid. Look at what Christian Wilkins just got. And getting somebody that can disrupt both the quarterback and the run game, having somebody like that anchor your defense is going to be huge. Byron Murphy, he has a chance to be a really good player for a long time. The Jags, I think they'll go the cornerback route here and pick up Nate Wiggins, a cornerback out of Clemson. Dude, I'm not going to act like an expert on a lot of these players. Don't know much about them other than what I've seen in mock drafts. So if you have different opinions, let me know in the comment section who you want your favorite team to draft. The Bengals, I might go with somewhat of a surprising pick here, just based off the whole T. Higgins situation, because I think eventually he does get traded. They're not going to let him just go for nothing, and I don't think they want to pay him. Got too many guys that they need to pay. Jamar Chase needs to get paid right here, so save some money. I think they trade him. I think they end up drafting Brian Thomas Jr., who was a really good wide receiver on LSU, but of course got outshined by Malik Neighbors, who went in the top 6. But this frees the Bengals to be able to trade T. Higgins and not really lose production. I mean, obviously going from T. Higgins to a rookie, you're going to see some kind of a downgrade, but you get a young player on a rookie contract, got him for the next 4 to 5 years, and then you'll probably get at least a second-round pick for T. Higgins. So not a bad trade-off. Now we got the Rams at 19, who just had they've had a good offseason with their signings and everything, but they just lost arguably the best defensive player we've seen in the past decade this year. So to kind of fill his spot, I got Johnny Newton, a defensive tackle from Illinois, going to them at number 20. Steelers have their choice between a lot of guys that they want. I think at the first round, they're definitely going to go with the offensive line route. They desperately need a center. They could use a tackle. They have an old vet in Russell Wilson they trade for. They also traded for a young gun in Justin Fields. So they could be an exciting team. Give Justin Fields a year to kind of sit, learn the system, extend him to a contract, see how he does for a couple years. But I think they'll go with the center route right here and take Jackson Powers Johnson. He's been walked to them in just about every mock draft I've seen. Apparently in the meeting with them went really well, and he kind of fills a major need for that team. Dolphins here at 21. We're going to go the offensive tackle route. Their offense just has so much power to it, but maybe we could give Tua a little bit more time in the pocket. So we'll go with Fuaga, who's the 14th best prospect here at 21. So pretty damn good value for them as well. We have the Eagles here at number 22. And with the Eagles in recent drafts, they usually kill it because they just draft best player available. Doesn't matter the position, they'll find a spot for you, and I think they continue that trend here. And a couple years ago, they ended up drafting Jason Kelsey's eventual replacement, who's obviously going to start this year. Maybe this year, they look at Lane Johnson's official replacement as he gets up there in age. That's how good teams stay competitive. They don't wait till the need becomes an actual need to draft player. They draft them a few years prior to give them time to develop, so when they're put in the starting lineup, they're ready. And I think they do that with somebody like Amarius Mims. They seem to love these Georgia guys. They draft them, I feel like, every single year. Mims is 6'7", 330 pounds. He's a big guy. If you give him 1 2 years kind of learning behind Lay Johnson, a potential Hall of Famer, this guy could be ready to go, and then they won't need to look at that tackle replacement for the upcoming years. So I got Amarius Mims going to the Eagles. I think they get a steal right there at number 22. He's a little bit raw, but the fact that you don't have to start him for a couple years makes him even more valuable. Now we have the Vikings pick here at 23. They went the cornerback route at 11. At 23, I think you have to try to fill in the offense a little bit here. So I have him going Michael Penix Jr. People are not that high on him. This is a guy that threw for 4,900 passing yards and 36 touchdowns. The guy can throw the rock. And since they got Sam Darnold there, you don't have to start him this year, even though Sam Darnold's not like an attractive option. But not rushing him will probably be the best case for his development. He's still going to be raw coming into the NFL, but there's potential. At 24, we have the Cowboys, who I think get a pretty good steal here in Troy Fautanu, an offensive tackle from Washington. He protected Michael Penix over there, and I don't think he allowed a single sack. So could be a good Tyron Smith replacement who ended up signing with the Jets this offseason. And now we have the Green Bay Packers up at pick 25. And being a Packers fan, I have no idea who I want them to take, who they should take, because there's like a million different options they could do. In retrospect, I would be happy with any of these guys right here. I think going the offensive line route makes a lot of sense, but the Packers haven't drafted an offensive lineman since I think 2011 in the first round. It's been a very long time. They're also amazing at drafting those guys in the 4th, 5th round for the offensive tackle position. Their 7th round pick in 2022 was their starting left tackle last year, and he was pretty damn good. Rasheed Walker, he kind of killed it a little bit. It's going to be a big year for his development. So I don't believe they're going to go offensive tackle route. I think instead they're going to try to fill in some of their needs with cornerback. So you got Kool-Aid, you got Cooper DeJean. I'm going to go with Cooper DeJean going to the Packers. He kind of fits the athletic profile that they always highly value. He's also somebody that can play safety and corner, both positions of need for the Packers. So it kind of gives them a lot of versatility they can do in their new 4-3 system. And then on top of that, they have 2 second-round picks, 2 third-round picks. So they have a lot of ammo they can do to either trade up to get another guy they want or draft other positions of need like tackle, like safety, whatever in the 2nd or 3rd round. Now we have the Buccaneers here. Paid Baker Mayfield. I believe they're going to get some edge help. I think Shaq Barrett left them. So I'm going to go with Chop Robinson going to them over from Penn State. Cardinals ended up selecting Marvin Harrison Jr., arguably the best player in this draft over at number 4. They have their 2nd first-round pick that they got from the trade in last year's draft with the Texans. I don't think they expected the Texans to be nearly as good as they were this year, but they ended up getting the guy that they wanted to help with the wide receivers. Part of me kind of wants to double dip a little bit of that, but the best ones in Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy don't really like here at pick number 27. Instead, they get a faller in J.C. Latham, an offensive tackle from Alabama who just kind of fell for whatever reason. Probably because I suck at mock drafts. I don't fucking know. But now you got the best wide receiver in this draft, one of the better tackles in this draft, and things might start looking a little bit brighter in Arizona. Bills at number 28. I think they have to go wide receiver at some point. Unless you want Shakir being your number 1 overall wide receiver. Like, you lost Gabe Davis, who I believe went to Jacksonville, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember exactly where Gabe Davis went to. Okay, Gabe Davis went to Jacksonville, replacing Calvin Ridley. They also ended up losing Stephon Diggs, traded to Houston. So you really need a wide receiver here for Josh Allen. I'm going to go Adonai Mitchell. You have to give him some weapons to work with. Lions here at number 29 really took a big leap forward last year, winning their first playoff game in, 30 fucking years? So it's been a while. They need a quarterback. Kool-Aid McKinstry is perfect for them at number 29. This is somebody who could go a lot higher, and truthfully, I don't know why he's not projected to go much higher in mock drafts. Kid's a fucking stud. Ravens at number 30. I want to give Lamar Jackson the most weapons to succeed because I feel like for whatever reason, they don't do it. It's similar to the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, just never signing or making first-round selections on wide receivers to help contribute to the team. Hopefully this is the year that changes. And I got Keon Coleman going to the Ravens at number 30. Keon Coleman's a fucking stud, dude. Number 31, we got the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers. And I like Tyler Guyton right here. Eventually, they need to kind of upgrade their offensive line a little bit. Guyton's going to be that guy. He's a little bit of a developmental project, but overall, and a first round. Great value for them. Then finishing it off, we got the Super Bowl Kansas City Chiefs. Swifties and all can rejoice. But at number 32, they always seem to do this where they just take a wide receiver and somehow they contribute in some way, shape, or form. Rashee Rice last year. A couple other guys here prior. They just plug and play guys, and it always works out for him. It's the Patrick Mahomes effect. Maybe it's Taylor Swift effect. I don't fucking know. But I got Xavier Worthy, a speedy wide receiver going to them. That seems to be the kind of guy they profile. McCall Hardman, MVS, Tyreek Hill, Rashee Rice. Just, they like to get those burners and that really let Patrick Mahomes use off his arm. Worthy's gonna do that. Let me know what you guys think of this mock draft and who you want your favorite team to select in the first round of this Thursday's draft.